Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, happy April 1st. No April Fool's joke here, but we're streaming today. So I found this Figma video link, and I believe it was in one of my history from a friend of mine named Sashi, if you're familiar with him. Yeah, so I decided I'm gonna go ahead and follow this tutorial. You can see this is what the first iteration of it was in this, oops. Okay, I think you can see it now. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this was the first iteration of it in this red file. I knew that I wanted fillers here. I knew where these templates were going to be set up. But now we're going to go ahead and now we're gonna go, and then I started creating like an idea of what I wanted a dashboard to look like. But now I really want to make it pixel perfect, and we're gonna go ahead and follow this tutorial right here, and we're gonna go ahead and see what he does.
And when you select that, this panel over here is what's called the property inspector. So when you select a piece of text or you select some other item or a frame or whatever, it will show you associated properties that we can see with the frame tool. And what the frame tool essentially is it's where you place your UI design essentially. And you have to choose, an actual dimension for that. Now, you can just left click and drag a frame out of any size, just like that. Or if you select this, you could select a predefined size right over here based on popular size.
Yeah, so you can pick your frame, and then you can have a phone. This must be tablet, and this must be desktop. A desktop right here. I am gonna go ahead and do
sizes essentially. So like for instance, presentation, we have a 16 by 9, 19, 20.
I wanted to fix up my Figma file here, and via this, it's going great after your after your live stream. I hope to be able to join you again, and I love that you went on. So yeah, I'm trying to fix up my Figma file, and I really want to be pixel perfect. So I'm looking back at a video that Sashi shared in the group.
20 by 1080. Those are just pixels, 1920 pixels by 10,080 pixels. That's width by height. I typically start web designs on this right here, the 1920 by 1080.
1920 by 1080. Okay. So let's go ahead and do our third iteration right here. And then we're going to do a frame. Yes, good times, definitely. 1920 by, okay, perfect. Okay, so this is our 1920 by 80. What you working on now?
And that's basically a desktop UI design first approach. Some people like to go, they start at like a mobile viewport first. I personally like going at a desktop first.
Likewise, I like going from a desktop first and being able to look at it via mobile afterwards. So
because it's easier to imagine the full experience and design for the full experience and then remove things as you work your way down to like a smaller device size like this phone than it is to do the
Shoot, appreciate you, Richard. Yeah, you seem like you've been, like I was telling you right now, you were booked and busy, so you seem like you were busy all day and for the next couple of weeks, so.
Opposite, and that's how I've always designed, but there's no absolute right or wrong way. It's like however you prefer to work best. All right, so now that we have this on here, we can easily change it, the width and height by adjusting this. It doesn't have to be 1920, right? I mean, it could be, almost any size, but for now, I'm going to keep it right around here anyhow. Now, the first thing that, we kind of have to ask ourselves as UI UX designers is do we have assets already that are accompanying this design? Do we have a color scheme already?
No assets, but we do have a color scheme, so we're definitely working with a color scheme right here. I like the colors in the feels of this because I feel like all of the colors work together. Oh no, hopefully you get some rest so you revive yourself, get yourself back going again. What do you think about this thus far, Richard? Too bright for you? This is what I'm definitely feeling for like a light mode color. I was like, oh, I kind of like all of it blend together like this. It's definitely very pink. I never knew I was such a pink person. So this is what I'm feeling right now.
Ready? Do we have a logo? You know, those are very important questions.
No logos yet, but we'll see.
Questions you have to ask yourself. But sometimes if you're a solopreneur,
is it max revive? Like, is that like resting or what does that mean? Yeah, like the cards here, right? Or you were talking about this card right here, right? It is. You can see the pinks and then the pinks. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have to kind of like squint to see all the pink colors like that. Or even these cards here, it's kind of hard to see as well. Yeah, I'll definitely keep playing with it then. Because that's true.
newer freelancer, you might be tasked with handling all that stuff. So there's a broad umbrella of things that you need to consider as a UI UX designer. So for us,
I'm
going to go ahead back to our assets, and we do have a logo already, and it's this
here,
right here where it says assets is section, which logo's white. Paste that in, and if I go back to layout. With that selected, we hit Control C to copy, by the way. We can go back to our assets, or our layout page, rather, and just paste that in. Now, we're not going to be able to see it because the background is white and the logo is white. So what I envisioned for this page is the hero section, which the hero section is kind of like the first portion of a layout a person sees when the website loads on the browser or on their phone. It's going to have like a purple background. And that color is going to be based on this purple color already found. I'm going to go ahead and take, we could use, there's a couple different tools and methods for doing this angle, or you could use a rectangle itself as well. You can see there's tools like here, we could just use zoom a little bit this, or the arrow tool, the ellipse, the polygon, etc. We could just use a frame for this. And so if I left click and drag from the top left, zoom out a little bit.
There
we go. Just down here or so, we'll see we created a frame. Now, frames by default don't have fills added to them. So, a little bit, tool, the arrow tool, the ellipse, the polygon, etc. We could just use a frame for this. And so if I left click and drag from the top left, zoom out a little bit. There we go. Half in the way through. To add a fill, we click a plus. And by default, it's white, so it doesn't look like much has changed. And we want to grab that color. By default, it's white, so it doesn't look like much has changed. And we want to grab that color. Now, that color happens to be right here, this purple color. Notice how it says selection colors. There's white and this purple. Well, it's doing that because we wrapped a frame around this logo and it finds all the colors that are inside of it. So it's a quick and easy way for us to change colors. So if I wanted to change this purple color, say to like red, well, there it goes. We've now changed it red. We don't want to do that, so I'm going to back up with Control Z. But all I want to do is just grab that color. And maybe instead of grabbing that color and just kind of copy and paste it in different areas, we should utilize styles. And what that is
have you seen this video before, Richard? This is my first time. Well, I skimmed through it before, but this is my first time actually like walking through it and trying to understand Figma a little bit better to create my design.
In UI design, you have a color scheme, and these colors are reused multiple times throughout the design process of a layout. And it makes sense to add them as a part of a style library because, for instance, if you're working with a client and Well, you color it. Do want to get in the habit here and notice the little plus sign. We click plus, and we'll call this primary color. All right, and we'll call this primary. And notice the little. So we all we have to do that is we click right here and notice the little plus sign. We click plus, and we'll call we click right here. So we all we have to do. So you definitely want to get in the habit of that. So we all we have to do that is we click right here.
He went right here, and then he went. Where is my selection of colors? Okay, right here. Yeah, this is my first time. Oh yeah, yeah. This is my first time watching it. Well, second time, yeah, as I mentioned before. So, yeah, this stuff is. Yeah, I really want to try to get more pixel perfect with my UI, and also, someone did mention to me that the colors that I did choose before, they could be more ally helpful. So yeah, supposedly Figma does have some plugins I can use that can help me figure out to make it more uh, ally friendly. So hopefully I said that right. Ally.
And notice the little plus sign. We click plus, and we'll call this primary color.
Call it background.
All right, and that is the value. So create variable. Okay. All right, and that is the value. So
Oh, it's a variable. Okay, there's a variable background. Or do it like this? Okay.
create variable. Okay.
Create a
So
variable.
now, if I want to take this fill, all we have to do is we can click on Libraries tab right here and then
And
click
it's
on
right
Primary Color.
there. Oh,
There
that's
we
so
go. So
cool.
now we
Uh, like, do you mean color theory as in like analogous in other ones? I feel like there's another one. Is that what you're referring to, Richard? Color theory. Yes, complementary colors and analogous. Is this what you're referring to, Richard?
have our hero section right here, and we have the logo in the upper left corner, which is a typical pattern. Like 99 out of 100 times, the logo on a website is going to be upper. This phone, because that is highly annoying. Okay, more so to make you, especially when you're just equal actual frame. Notice how it says slide 1920. We could double click that and change that. Like for instance, this is our home page. I'll just call this the home page.
We'll call it a home page.
If we select it,
dashboard.
then we can come over here and you could see right down here at the bottom, layout grid. So if we click plus, we're going to just go ahead and change this to a columns-based grid. Now, if we click on this little icon right there, we can change the count. As many these little weird-looking columns as we want. For me, I'm only going to just choose one. I know, it's kind of strange. You can't really tell what...
Is this how you come up with your colors, by the way, Richard? You come up with it via complementary. Is this how you do it as well? Because when I add the color wheel, I just do it off of emotions and feelings, which is probably not the best idea. But yeah, is this how you use yours?
What it did. But what we want to do is to add a margin. So if I add this margin like 120, notice how we can kind of see, and we can also change the colors like this red color. Like if I make it white and maybe we increase this opacity value a little bit more, we can see it more so. Essentially what this will do is it shows us it's not a part of the design because we can toggle this grid off. So if we select...
I see, yeah. Some. I see, and yes, you know that now that I think about it, it's like movies. Like when you watch movies, they are like some of them are lighter, some of them are darker to invoke the emotions and stuff like that. Ah, I love that, Richard. I'll have to put a little bit more. For me, I was just looking at color schemes on Google, and this kind of like spoke out to me, all these colors, but I do want to be more intentional about it. I do, like you said, I want to invoke some emotions. So, yeah, I'll have to do more.
Like the artboard, we can
What's your favorite color theme though?
toggle this on. What opacity value a little bit more, we can see it more. Like, notice I'm only going to just pull weird looking columns as we want. For me, I'm only going to
I love that.
just choose one.
I don't think my major taught color theory. So,
I know, it's kind of strange. You can't really tell.
okay, so he did it and he turned the columns. He went here, he turns the column into one column. How did he? Yeah, what? That's how he did it. He did it into one.
Tell what it out, and maybe we increase this, change the colors to like 120. Notice
And he did the margin to 120.
how we can kind of see, and we can also change the colors, like this red color. Like if I make it white, and maybe we increase this opacity value a little bit more, we can see it more so.
Oh, Richard, I love that. That makes me think about like my this like application that I'm working on a little bit. I probably need to. I'm gonna sit down with it and see how I feel about it more, with the personal connection to invoke those colors and feelings. You know, I was going to ask you when you went live, what was your experience with Epic Web Dev? I'm pretty sure a lot of things happened, but I didn't get to talk to you at your conference. When are you going live next? I'd love to talk to you about your experience there.
Essentially, what this will do.
Oh, who's your favorite character though? I don't know if I've ever seen your pink theme project. It doesn't sound familiar. And pink theme as well.
Is it show?
I was like, wait, why are you laying in bed? It's only 4 p.m. That's right, you're 7. You're 7 p.m.
Shows us it's not a part of the design because we can toggle this grid off.
This weekend, Sunday. If you could do it Sunday, that'd be great. Oh no, I never did. Oh my, maybe that's why. I was like, I don't think I've seen a project like that, but I love to see what that project was. Yes, please share. And also for this weekend, yeah, I'm moving out this weekend, so I won't be able to join Saturday if you're doing that because I'm moving out Saturday. But Sunday, I can join if you're doing it Sunday.
So if we select the artboard, we can toggle this on and off like that by clicking this little eye icon. It allows us to see the very left and the very right side of the design. And that way, we'll know, for instance, okay.
Oh no, I think I saw you posting about this. I saw you posting statuses about this before. You already know. Yeah, it's in that one area that I told you. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable disclosing it right here, but it's in that one area that you and I were talking about. We did find a place in that area, so I love it. Trademark it. Oh heck yeah, was a long time. So we're happy that we finally like got to something. Okay, we're gonna do my thing. That's not my real email, so no one might know. Pretty. I love it that the colors change. How many books have I read? Oh, like you read it 3 times track book. Okay, so wait, let me read it. Hopefully I didn't break it. Oh, I see. Okay, because I clicked the button. Yes, you've gotten really far. That is something to be really proud about. Because I was like, I'm clicking the button. I was waiting for it to like redirect me to somewhere else. But, oh, you can always upload your own. That is really, oh, that is really cool. I think it's still pretty cool. You can add your own book. Your home. Books. My profile. Oh, that's really good. You did this in 2 days? Hey, it has my name. That's pretty cool. That is really good. To do this in 2 days? Hey, that's pretty good. Did you have to like fetch out to an API to get these books? The book names and all the book titles and the book photos? Did you have to go out somewhere else? Yeah, I'm curious what API you use for that. This is pretty good.
Okay, so our logo
Yeah,
needs
oh
to
my
be
goodness.
right
I
on
think I
that
remember
edge. And
you
then
talking about it. And then the other previous projects that I saw you talking about it was the car. I saw the car. Oh, I see. Mad props for you to go get all of those images and titles. So,
if there's a little button over here, which there will be, it needs to be right on the edge of that area as well. And that way we have equal white space on the right and left. White.
oh my goodness. Yes, I was going to say. I was like, oh my goodness. The title, the images, the author, everything. Yes, because yeah, there are like 20 books. I think there were like 20 books.
Space, by the way, is just another term for negative space or empty space, like just blank space. It's
yes, yes. Noted. Won't do it. You know, when I was apartment hunting, I was thinking about using like an API to help me narrow down like apartments that were within my price range and within the areas that I wanted to take a look at. But the only thing about it though is it wasn't free. It cost to use Zillow API, and I was like, I don't know. Oh, I love that, Richard. Wait, which one? Cursor? Was it Cursor?
one of the very important UI foundational principles, which I'll talk about more. So get in the habit of using a grid system of some sort. 12 column grid systems are also pretty popular. For me, we're not going to use that. The only context we're going to use it is just to define the very left and right side of our design for now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and toggle that back off momentarily. And now what we need to do is we need to create the navigation. All right, so we have our logo up here. And a UI design pattern for navigation that's very common is to have your logo and then have a navigation. Now, the most simple form is have your logo on the left.
I see. Well, ChatGPT did really well though. Yes, we do build
And a
things.
horizontal navigation on your right. It says like home here, about us, contact, frequently asked questions, all that stuff. We're going to have something a little bit, a slight play on that. We're going to have a middle navigation and then a primary header call to action button on the right. All right, so here's how this works. I'm going to show you the way that you typically don't want to do it, and then I'll show you the way that you do want to typically do it. And obviously that means nothing at this point, but type tool. All right, same thing as clicking. All right, so we have white text. If yours isn't white, it might not be. You just come over here in the property inspector. You click on fill, this color, and then you can change it to white by dragging this up here. We'll see it. There you are. There's also Montserrat. There's Poppins. There's a bunch of different fonts that you can use from, or choose from, essentially. For this font size, now font size is very important. And this comes down to another foundational UI principle called typography. All right, there's a lot involved in typography, but just to get started, scale is one of them, and that's one of the most important. It's one of the things that newbies tend to get wrong. The size of your type, how big should it be? Well, that introduces yet another UI foundation. and that's called visual hierarchy. Sounds scary? It's not. Essentially, it's basically giving priority to certain elements, and it's establishing the priority of certain elements based on their importance. Okay, so a navigation is very important, but in the context of a full UI design, it's not quite as important as like the headline. The headline in the hero section is typically going to be the biggest size piece of type that you have on your page. So that's really important to get, to understand. And you'll see how, once we get to that part, you'll see how that all comes into play. For our a navigation, though, we don't want it to be too large and we don't want it to be too small. Too small might be a size like this. Look how small that is. Like, that's a small home button. That would be hard to click on, and it's hard to read, most importantly. Now, too big, that might be something like this. This might be just a tad bit too large, in my opinion, especially in relation to the size of the logo. So there's a balancing act, and you will eventually develop the eye for that. So I'm just going to choose a size of around 24 bold. All right, that's the font weight. So instead, actually, you know what? I might not use bold. Instead, I might use regular for this, and that would work just fine as well. Okay, so now let's say, okay, we know we want a home button. We might want to have maybe another one called AI Solutions. Okay, now notice how I moved it over and it has a lot of white space between. Okay, again, another foundational UI principle, white space. How close or how far away should these things be together? Should it be this close? Obviously not. It would be very difficult to read that. Should it be this close? Well, let's think here. That's pretty close. I would say, honestly, that's too close, given the space that we have available to us. So you have to think about all these minute little things. And so I'm going to move this maybe over here. Now, what if, for instance, let's say we want to have a little down arrow, because this might be a secondary page. Like if you hover over it or you click on it, it will reveal a submenu. So how would we get a little arrow? Well, there's multiple ways to do that. You could take the pen tool down here. So if we click that, we left click here, hold shift to create like a 45-degree angle. And then we left click right there. We hit escape once we're done. We could change the stroke to white. Maybe increase the thickness by selecting right here, using your keyboard mouse arrow up. You can increase that to 2. All right. And so this could be a little down arrow that works for our design, right? Okay, great.
I bet you did.
Now let's say, for instance,
I bet you heard a lot from Ryan's presentation as well, because I know that in his that one presentation that he gave at Vercel, I saw that he was talking about typography, your font, and your color. Like, you want to consider that when you're creating the UI.
After that, we have another one called... What I did, by the way, is Control-D to duplicate those, and I just move them over. And one of the things that's really cool about Figma is when you move things around and it kind of detects that you're working within a pattern, it'll show you that...
Oh, I see. When we did Grid Iron Survivor, it's been a minute since I've heard anything from Sashi. It's been a minute.
Hey, you have 56 pixels. You can kind of see that little reddish orange area right here. It says 56 between all 3 of these. That's to let you know that you have equal white space between those elements. That's great. And this right here is a very suitable navigation in and of itself. So if I select all these, we can kind of get this centered up, maybe right around there. And then we can have our button on the right. Now, this is all fine, the way we just structured that, but it's not utilizing some of the features of Figma that could definitely make your life easier. And so let me show you what I mean by that. If we were to reconstruct this the proper way,
and not getting his code reviews.
You'll see how flexible and dynamic Figma
yeah, it's been a minute.
can be as a UI designer. So what I'm going to do is we're going to leave these here for now. I'm going to create a new frame above this existing frame.
I'm excited. I wonder what he's gonna state for what you call it. I want to know what Gary Simon's gonna state that's gonna be the better version of creating.
So I'm going to hit F on the keyboard for the frame tool.
Interesting.
I'm going to left click and just drag something roughly like that. And I'm going to hit the I key on my keyboard. And that allows us, with that selected, to make the background color this color. Okay, so what we want to do is, let's just take our home. Actually, let's take this AI Solutions because it has the drop-down icon with it. If we take the AI Solutions button, and we take both of those elements and we select both of them. Now, the way you do that, by the way, there's multiple ways to select multiple layers, essentially, is we could double-click into this and select just this right here, then hold Shift and select that as well. You can notice select them the other element. Come over here, Control Alt K.
Well, you can.
Now, when you create a component, it will wrap it in an outline that is kind of like purple, and it also makes it purple, the actual text over here with this little icon. So what a component is, it's basically a reusable element. All right, and it will make your life tremendously easier if you make use of this sort of thing. So what we want to do is we're going to move this physically over here from that frame to this frame. And with it selected, we can create what's called a component variant. All right, sounds scary. It's not. The way you create it is this little button up there where it says, a little plus sign where it says Add Variant. So when you click Add Variant, it creates a duplicate inside of this little dashed container. And what this allows us to do is essentially create a secondary state or many different states of the same component. And let's say we know one of the differences between this navigation, like for instance, these three do not have drop-down icons. Only that one element did, the AI Solutions, the one that we pulled out. Well, we can make that dynamic. And what we could do is like this top one, the original that we created, if we double click into enough, far enough into this little stack to where we select vector 1, all we have to do is with it selected in the layers, we can click on this little eye icon and that hides it. So this would be without an icon, and then this one would be with an icon. Very cool, but that's not cool yet because you haven't seen me actually utilize and implement this component. So what we can do now is we can go over here to assets, and then we can click on here and we can see we only have one component in there, and that's the AI Solutions component. It's the button component. We can left click and drag this over here, and now let's delete this, and this. Let's go ahead and put this bad boy right there. And I'm going to double click this to change the text. We're going to call this home. All right. All right, so with that selected, I'm just going to drag this in. And essentially, I'm going to take this and duplicate it. Control D, hold Shift and move it over here. And then I'm going to double click. And we're going to change this to AI Solutions, which is our second link. And then with it selected, for component 3, we can see up here where it says property 1, variant 2. We want to change that to variant 2. Now when we do this, if I drag this out, you can see now we have the little icon that showed up. And that's because this right here, we've named it variant 2. Or we could say with icon, like that. So now, when I come back and I select it, you can see property 1, it says with icon, or with dropdown, or whatever you want to name it. And so that's super cool. Now, now that we've created 2 of these elements, the real cool thing about this is we can select both of these by holding Shift, both of these links, these nav items, and we can create a auto layout. And you do that under the layout section in the property inspector right here by clicking this button. Now when you do that, it's going to change all this stuff underneath it. And auto layout, trust me, there's some people that live and die by auto layout. They add auto layout to everything possible. And if you go on to like Reddit, like the Figma subreddit, they'll say if you don't put auto layout on every single element possible known to man, then you're just doing it wrong. I personally disagree. I use mine a little bit more sparingly, and the amount and the degree to which you use auto layout, which it might be confusing to you at this point because you don't even know what it is, will depend on who you're
I
working
get
with. If you're
it.
working with like a large team and people,
Thanks for coming to hang out. We are studying some Figma so that we can implement our designs a little bit better. I know I'm still talking about the design, even though I talked about it this past weekend, but I feel like we can get more pixel perfect. So I'm studying the video that Sashi added to our group. So yeah, learn a little Figma with me. So
are working
hopefully you're not working.
with your files and stuff, you might want to utilize it more. For me, I can find that it kind of slightly, barely slows me down, and sometimes I won't use it on every element. It completely makes sense to use it on anything that has like a repeating list of some sort, because I'll show you how powerful it is in a second. What it allows you to do, now that we've confined everything inside of this auto layout, which by the way, when you add an auto layout around an element, it adds a frame around them. So notice we did just have a component 1 and component 2, but now those are nested within this frame, which is an auto layout frame. So what we can do is we could select like the home button and duplicate it. And notice how it maintained that white space consistently between them. That's very cool. Now we could also left click and just drag this and put it over here to the right. That's very cool as well. So now we could put a FAQ button right there. And then we can also go ahead and select this and duplicate it. And this could be a contact button. So let's change that to contact.
So it seems like we
Slightly, barely slows me down, and sometimes we can select both of these. We can create a auto layout. And you do that under the layout section in the property inspector right here by clicking this button. Now when you do that, it's going to change all this stuff underneath it. And auto layout, trust me, there's some.
So it seems like he is stating we'll go here. Say for instance this is gonna be our navigation bar area. We're gonna have this here. Oops. Okay, so we can go in here. We're gonna add a home here. Well, let's fix that a little bit better. Okay, so we have home. I want it to be bold. Well, logo, let's boldish for now. I think 30 should be okay. Oops. Okay. I feel like these two could be more aligned. Okay, a little bit better. Okay, so I feel like these two are more aligned, and we're gonna duplicate it and then do it like this. We'll do home, we'll do dashboard. Well, we'll do a log out. Maybe we'll do like a contact. Home, about. Let's do it in about. And then if you do it like the, oops, we don't want the whole thing to move. Okay, so you, oops, not the whole thing either. I thought he, okay, what he did was
section in the property inspector right here.
because he clicked both of them. Yeah, I don't want the whole entire thing to move. I want to highlight. Oops, not like that. I want to go ahead and highlight the about. He said that we can click into layout. layout.
Here by clicking this button.
One, two. Okay, perfect. And you click this button and it turns into a home layout like that.
We can just in this frame jet to contact there. And then we can also go ahead and select this and duplicate it. And this could be a contact button. So let's change that to contact. Got SpongeBob case there. Cool as well. White space consistently frame. But now what we can do is we could select like the home button and duplicate it. And notice how it maintained that white space consistently between them. That's very cool. Now we could also left click and just drag this and put it over here to the right. That's very cool.
I'm trying to see, did it do that? I must have missed something. Because the home, it
also left click and just drag this and put it over here to the right. That.
Here. Yeah. Okay. If I tell it okay. Home about FAQ. Definitely working on that a little bit like that.
That's very cool as well. So now we could put a fact button right there. And then we can also go ahead and select this and duplicate it.
I see. You see how like his FAQ button, it's still under his frame, but my FAQ is not in my frame anymore unless I add it in, and I just have to move it. And oh, every time I moved it, it doesn't like it though. Maybe it's the, oh, I have 2 frames. Rename, I don't want to have 2 frames. Okay, so home and about can go here. Actually, delete it. Let's go to home. I have another home. Okay. So we have a home and about. Okay, so we have an about, and if I duplicate it. Okay, so it doesn't like that.
And this could be a contact name. Also select like the home button and duplicate it. It adds a frame around them. So notice we did just have a component 1 and component 2, but now those are nested within this frame, which is an auto layout frame. So what we can do is we could select like the home button and duplicate it. And notice how it
the frame. Oh, there we go. I think I just had to play around with it more a little bit like this. Pretty cool. Okay. We do a home and call this about. Call this FAQ.
and then we can, all right, so that's contact. Okay, so now that we have this navigation inside of an auto layout, we can do some really cool stuff. For instance, notice right here how it says horizontal gap between objects. We can just increase this as much as we want or decrease it. So it's a really fast way of automatically adjusting the white space between the elements. If we had not wrapped this in an auto layout, we would have had to manually move each item if we wanted to increase or decrease the
That was me. Guilty of having to move every little one. So we learned how to do auto layout. This is pretty cool.
white space between the elements. So that's a very handy feature. You can also make this a vertical list just by clicking this little down button over here. There's a lot more that you can do in terms of...
I don't think we'll be doing a vertical list today, so, but that's a pretty cool idea for next time.
like
if I ever do
centering stuff or not centering stuff. Very, very, very cool. So let's go ahead back to a horizontal layout. Looks like we had that old one right there. There we go. Okay, so now we can also utilize positioning. So because we want this to be centered absolutely within the very center of our layout, we can click this align horizontal right there. That'll let us know this is in the direct center of horizontal right there. That'll let us know this is in the direct center of this this layout or this frame right here.
Something there.
All right. So now let's move on to the next element, which is going to be a primary call to action, or basically a navigation header nav based, a nav bar call to action. And a call to action, that's a industry term for button, essentially, like an important button that you want people to click on. All right. So for us, we're going to have one called hire us, like hire us. And so to do that, we're going to create another component for it. And it's going to go right over here, right aligned to our grid. So I'm going to turn on the grid by selecting the frame and clicking the visibility eye icon. Now we can see the very edge of that area. And what we'll do is, if we just take a look at that, that's man rope, regular, 24 pixels. That's good. So if I use my type tool, we're going to say hire us. There we go. And this time I want it to be bold.
Join now.
Okay. And we're going to actually wrap this into a button container. Okay. So to do that, we can hit the frame tool, F, left click, and wrap it around, kind of somewhere right around there. Now, we're also going to go ahead and give this a wrap it around, hit the frame tool.
It's going so fast. Wait, I didn't find the frame button yet.
Okay, so to do that, we can hit the frame tool, F, left click, and wrap it around, kind of somewhere right around there. Now, we're also going to go ahead and give this a fill. It is going to be white as it is. And
the fill, we do, okay, so he said he's gonna go, okay, I don't want the text to be white. I want the fill. Interesting, because I don't want the text. So the text can stay black. Perfect. Okay, so then now I want a frame, he said. And you do a frame like that. But I want to get rid of this one. Oh, nope. Not the whole entire thing. I just only want to get... Okay, maybe we'll get rid of 7. Nope. Okay, we'll start all over. He added the call to action, join now. So he added a call to action button, and then he added a frame and said, hey, we're gonna do it like this. You know what, with the button we're gonna okay, so he had a call to action, and then he added a frame on top of the join now. So I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna add a frame. But then how come when I click on the frame, the whole entire thing is not black or white?
And we're going to have slightly rounded corners, which you can do that under the appearance section and just kind of left click and drag that. And you can kind of see automatically as you do this, it's adjusting the size of that. Now we're going to have to take the...
Did my thing... Okay, frame 4. Let me test another frame because I anticipated to see this one. See, this one is actually a frame. You see there? Versus this one. I don't see this frame. Okay, let's start it all over. We're gonna say, hey, we're gonna join now. Let's align it right here. And then we're gonna go ahead and add our frame. Maybe you add it off. Okay, we're gonna do it like like that. Join goes in here. Okay. And maybe you see how like the join now is a sub of the box. I hope I said that right. But you see how like the hire us is inside that frame. So I wanted my call to action to be inside that frame. So that's what we're gonna do. Oops. We'll do like 12.
Text inside of it, you may have to hold Control and then left click to select it because it's hard to see. And then we're going to make this our libraries, our primary color right there.
So then this join now. Wait a second. Is my join now all the way up there? Okay, join now. We're gonna make this the primary color. Ooh. That does not look pretty. I think it's my white and pink there. So I definitely have to play with the colors a little bit more there. Because I am not a fan.
There we go. Now we can also select it. Select both the elements, the frame 3 and itself, and then we could click Auto Layout. And when you click Auto Layout, it doesn't seem like anything changes, but it's smart enough to know we want the text inside of it to stay in the center. So no matter how large we make it.
That's what I was shooting for. I wanted them to be together like this. Oh my goodness, we're learning so much. Okay, so you guys, if you're having problems with Figma, auto layout it. That's it. Solved. Problem done. We're going home. Work is done for the day. So, but that's pretty cool. So this is coming along a lot better than I anticipated.
Guess what? It's going to stay in the center. Very cool. Now it also makes sense to make this button a component as well. So we can click.
Okay, we're going to make it a component. Frame 6. I was like, I think I pressed that way too early, but okay, we're okay.
Create component. We can drag it up here. And now that it's a component, we can add a component variant once again by clicking this plus sign right up here. All right, now let's say for instance for our this button, we want to have a hover state where it changes appearance somehow. A real common, I guess you could say, pattern.
I think in here I had a button color. Did I have a button color? Text background. Okay, just kidding. I did not have a button color. But we'll do this one. Let's see how this looks like. I am intrigued. Okay, frame 6. Eee. That's that's not pretty, but we'll come back. We'll come back. We'll say button. I'm not. I might have to come back and look at these color schemes. It is not. It's not it. What color was their text? Text. Okay. Let me try it with the text. Maybe the black color text is throwing me off too. Okay. Libraries. We're gonna add this as text. One thing about all these situations is that I'm gonna go ahead and make sure to trust the process. So we're gonna go ahead and keep trusting the process. The join now, let's make that a text color. Let's keep working on it a little bit.
For having a...
Because I have faith it will turn out like this. So we're gonna keep going with it. As you can see, it actually makes sense here. So we're gonna trust the process.
Hover button micro interaction is to make the hover state kind of like flip or reverse colors. So in this case, with this second one selected, we can get rid of the fill. We can give it a stroke, make the stroke white. All right. And then inside of it, we grab that text, which currently is hidden, and we can break this chain link right here and change the color to white. So now, if we switch up here to prototype mode,
Exactly,
it's a tab.
Richard.
Then we can hover over it, and when we hover over, you'll see this little plus sign on the top one. Let's drag it to the bottom one. And what this does is it gives us this little option, trigger. Well, a trigger is like what is going to make it switch to this other variant. Well, it's not going to be click. We want it to be hover. So we click while hovering right there. Now you can see there's obviously other options. We want to use while hovering. And then it's going to say change to variant 2. We don't have to mess with this because we already dragged that connection manually to it. And then animations instant, which I want, but you could also do smart animate, which is very cool. We could possibly have a little bit more experience with that in a second, a little bit later, but that will just kind of create an automatic burst, and you'll kind of see what happens. So now that we have that, we have to actually drag this back on by going to our assets, drag this new component, this button component, right here, and get it lined up right where we need it. We switch back to design mode. There we go. Notice how I'm looking at these little guides that show us it's the exact horizontal center of the navigation to the left. Alignment, very important. So now that we have that, I can go ahead and select this artboard and hide that grid. And now, if I click play up here, let's go ahead and select artboard and click this little play icon. It's going to open up a new tab, and watch what happens when we hover. Very cool. It's working.
Oh, that is really nifty. Okay, so from the looks of it, we need to create a component. I'm gonna grab this. Well, I can grab the color here. Should be able. Oops, no, not like that. Okay, background, and then so I should be able to grab my component here and grab another one. Oops, duplicate. Did I duplicate? Okay, this one. This one is gonna be a prototype.
So in this case, with this second kind of like micro, I add a component variant once again by clicking this plus sign right up here. All right, now let's say for instance for our this button, we want to have a hover state where it changes appearance somehow. A real common, I guess you could say, pattern for having a hover button micro interaction is colors. So in this case, make the hover state kind of like flip or reverse colors. So in this case, with this second one selected, we can get rid of the fill. We can give it a stroke, make the stroke.
I don't think I need two components, so I think I'm just gonna keep this frame 6. What I'm gonna do is make a copy of this one, and he said he's gonna make the opposite of it. And then so what's gonna happen is let me zoom in so we can see a little bit better. So the text itself will be the button color. The button itself will be the text color.
White. All right. And we can break this chain link right here, which currently is hidden. And we can break this chain link right here.
They're chain links. Break it. Oh, okay. You can break it here. I see. Okay. So these, we have to break
here and change the color to white. So now, if we switch up here to prototype mode, it's a tab. Then we can hover over it, and when we hover over, you'll see this little plus sign on the top one. Let's drag it to the bottom one. And what this does is it gives us this little option, trigger. Well, a trigger is like what is going to make it switch to this other variant. Well, it's not going to be click. We want it to be hover. So we click while hovering right there. Now you can see there's obviously other options. We want to use while hovering. And then It's going to say change to variant 2. We don't have to mess with this because we already dragged that connection manually to it. And then animations instant, which I want, but you could also
change to
do smart animate, which is very cool. We could possibly have a little bit more experience with that in a second, a little bit later, but that will just kind of create an automatic tweening of, you know, the different positions or colors between them, and it creates a cool animation effect. But for me, we're going to just leave it in instant, and you'll kind of see what happens. So now that we have that, we have to actually drag this back on by going to our assets, drag this new component, this button component, right here, and get it lined up right where we need it. We switch back to design mode. There we go. Notice how I'm looking at these little guides that show us it's the exact horizontal center of the navigation to the left. Alignment, very important. So now that we have that, I can go ahead and select this artboard and hide that grid. And now, if I click play up here, let's go ahead and select artboard and click this little play icon. It's going to open up a new tab, and watch what happens when we hover. Very cool. It's working.
Yeah, mine didn't work. And it's pretty ugly like this. Cause you see how his...
Watch what happens when we hover. Very cool.
This one is a MacBook Air. What if I just wanted... Yeah, I have to figure out. See ya. Yeah, I'll chat with you Sunday. Thank you for hanging out. We'll chat soon. Okay, so that one didn't go. Okay. I want to redo that again. Assets. This one we're gonna make you a component. Make you a component, changes, pushes, create a component. Okay. You said I can go into here. Okay. This one, we're gonna make you.
Then change the color to white. And to make the hover stay real up here. All right, now let's say for instance, again, by clicking this and this button, a component as well. So we can click create component. We can drag it up here. And now that it's a component, we can add a component variant once again by clicking this plus sign right up here. All right, now let's say for instance for our this button, we want to have a hover state where it changes appearance somehow. A real common, I guess you could say, so in this case, with this second one selected, we can get rid of the fill, we can give it a stroke, make the stroke white, all right? And then inside of it, we grab that text, which currently is, or reverse colors. So in it, for having a hover button micro interaction, is to make the hover state kind of like flip or reverse colors. So in this case, with this second one selected, we can get rid of the fill. We can give it a...
Yeah, I'm trying to go into here, default variant. Okay, yeah, variant 2. We're gonna go ahead and flip the color. Text. Okay. And then now I want you to be filled with the button color. Oops, text color. Variant 2. We want text to be the blue. We want frame 10 to be filled with this one. Perfect. And then now
The stroke of it, we gain link. If we switch up here to prototype mode, it's a tab. Then we can hover over it, and when we hover over, you'll see this little plus sign on the top one. Let's drag it to the bottom one. And what this does is it gives us this little option, trigger. Well, a trigger is like what is going to make it switch to this other variant. Well, it's not going to be click. We want it to be hover. So we click while hovering right there. Now you can see there's obvious, it's going to do it. And then animation's instant, which I want. We could possibly have a little bit more experience with that in a second, a little bit later, but that will just kind of the differentiation effect. Have that, leave it in instant, and you'll kind of see what happens. So now that we have that, we have to actually drag this back on by going to our assets, drag this new component, this button component, right here, and get it lined up right where we need it. We switch back to design mode.
It would help to have that button. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, based off what they stated, we're gonna go ahead and go into this one. Oops. We'll leave you as is. Duplicate. Add you here. And we're gonna go ahead and play. Oh. Nope, nothing yet. Let's go ahead and see if we can troubleshoot this.
Now that we have that, we have to actually drag this back on, and it creates a cool animation effect. But for me, we're going to just leave it in instant, and you'll kind of see what happens. So now that...
Because we went here, we're saying you are nominated. Scroll with parent. This one, variant 2. A prototype. You're gonna be connected. Oops. Okay, so there's already one instant. Okay, while hovering, yup.
We have that. We have to actually drag this back on by going to our assets, drag this new component.
Drag the component. I see. You know what I was doing? I was not dragging the component. And so it said that I have to go here, go into this component, add that here, and then we can play it. Because I was actually dragging the actual button itself. Oh my gosh. That's exciting. That is exciting. There's so much to fix. But let me fix that quick. Oops. Leave it is. But let me make sure everything is horizontal. I want to take a look. 1920 by 737? Was that the frame I was looking? 1920 by 1080. By 1080. Oh, I see. Okay. But the whole entire dashboard should be 1920 by 1080. Yes. And I want to go ahead and play here. Interesting. It's still way too big. Yeah, I definitely want to... A MacBook Air. What is a MacBook Air? MacBook Air. Width and height. Because it's telling me it is a MacBook Air. If you are a MacBook Air, we can do it like this. Hence why it is a lot smaller. I wonder if I can make it change into a regular Zoom device to full screen. Bummer. It won't let me show you. But this is pretty exciting stuff. Thank you for hanging out with me. I want to make sure I do little bits by every day. So come back, hang out tomorrow. We'll do more of the UI or we'll do more of some backend. So thank you for hanging out with me today. Let's definitely do some more tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody. Oops. Breaking things here. Oh no. Okay, there we go. See, matey. Oh, I see, matey. I did not know that. Oh, hi, Elder. I didn't know you were here.